Good evening and welcome to week 2, day number 1 of the 2015 GPL Spring League. I am Fish, and joining me on the casting desk is Mr. Wolf, and it's been a long time since the Animal Casters have been back on the desk once again.
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, if we think about it, the last time we cast together was what? Last season, and that was a long time ago. Let's actually get into last week's results. First off, it has been 1 week since the GPL has started, and it's time for us to kind of summarize what has happened in the past week. So let's bring up that little infographic for you guys right in your screens. There we have it. You want to take us through what happened last week, Fish?
Sure will. So we saw a lot of interesting stats coming out here. So the Jakarta Juggernauts, the newest addition to the Greener Premier League coming in from Indonesia, lost their first 2 matches against Fat Rabbit coming in from Singapore. And that was surprising for me because everybody expected Jakarta to be the weakest team in GPL when they joined. However, they put up a decent performance against Fat Rabbit, and that 2-0 scoreline doesn't do them justice. Ultimate took on Infinite, whereby they took them down 2-0, and Ace's Fate won 2-0 against Diamond.
Yeah, in addition to that, of course, it is just going to run through all the picks and bans here. I mean, not the picks and bans. We're going to talk about... Let's actually just go right into the picks and bans right now instead of running through all these infographics, because they've already started the bans and picks phase here. We'll run through the rest of the infographics later on during the 3-minute spectator delay, of course. So we will be looking at the bans right now. Poppy being banned out by Infinite, Warwick as well here, and for the side of Mineski, it's going to be Lysandra and the Maokai.
Right, so very standard bans coming out from these teams. It's unfortunate that we won't be able to show those statistics because Lysandra is one of the most banned champions in the Greener Premier League after week 1. Maokai, one of the highest picked champions in the Greener Premier League so far. Warwick still being banned out despite the changes in the 4.21 patch. He's still a very strong jungler, one of the few junglers that can start with no potions and still leave a clear at full health here. Poppy being banned out by Team Infinite against Mineski's TG. Interesting ban coming up. Poppy's been becoming slightly popular in League of Legends right now, and Nar being banned out, one of the highest banned champions in the Greener Premier League as well.
Yeah, that's right. In addition to that, I mean, if we take a look at the rest of the bans, like you said, Lysandra, very strong top lane champion. Kassadin as well. I mean, obviously targeted at Yume now. And what we have here from Infinite might be a first pick top lane. Dr. Mundo, extremely tanky in the top, can use the infected cleavers and really come in with the split push and the teleport ganks as well.
Top lane Mundo pick, I don't quite like that as the first pick from Team Infinite here. I would have liked them to hold that card for later on in case Mineski tried to pull out a double AP team composition, because that's where Dr. Mundo really shines. And now Mineski now have the upper hand of knowing that very vulnerable top lane pick, which can be dived before 6 very easily.
Yep.
Doesn't have an incredibly strong laning phase, but is a rather safe pick.
Yeah, I also want to comment on the fact that Infinite has chosen not to opt for a first pick jungle, because there are a lot of highly contested jungle picks right now, and Jarvan is definitely still one of them. He has not been hit in the 4.21 patch at all, so it's going to be he's still an extremely strong jungler, especially the martial cadence and using the flag and drag combo into the Cataclysm, of course.
Interesting that Mineski have not gone for a Corki first pick, which we have seen a lot of teams pick up as their preferred AD carrier choice. And he's one of the few AD carries that throughout all stages of the game, he just cannot be tanked by anyone. Corki just does so much magic damage, so much physical damage, and a touch of true damage here and there as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, Corki, of course, did get a slight nerf. His missile speed on a phosphorus bomb was reduced by about 100 units or so, and with that, it does mean that, you know, they might be looking like they want to opt for the Tristana instead. Interesting that Lucian is not being picked up as well. He did get a slight nerf due to his Light Slinger being reduced from 6 to 3, but Infinite here still thinking that, you know, they want to pick up that Lucian and the Thresh.
So Lucian and Thresh should be locked in for Team Infinite. One of the few combos that survived through the Greener Premier League. It was a very staple pick back when Thresh and Lucian were both released, and has been used ever since. And instead, they switch out for Corki in the last minute here. One of the, I would say, a stronger attack damage carry at the moment as well. And going up against Tristana, lane should be fairly decent lane matchup for Team Infinite here. Yume looks like he wants to hover over Fizz here, one of his signature picks.
Yeah, it is. And I want to talk about the Corki and the Thresh. The Thresh that you brought up earlier, I mean, he has been a very staple support pick. Does do well against the Jarvan and the Tristana. If you can kind of be mechanically sound and interrupt one of those jumps or the flag and drag combo, that can really interrupt a juke or even an initiation coming out from Mineski. So Infinite might be looking to do that. Hobbits maybe trying to show his abilities using that play as well. Fizz, like you said, Yume's one of his comfort picks. No idea what else they might go for. They might decide to pick a support here to kind of pair up alongside the Tristana. We might see a Nami or a Sona coming in for Mineski.
Let's see what EXO picks up for his team. He should be playing Tristana. Does look like he's going to pick out Janna for Noel on support here, which means we have the top lane left open for Mineski unless we see Fizz or Jarvan head up into that top lane instead. Which is interesting because Infinite have already shown who their top laner is. So it seems like they wanted to, not to counter out the top lane, but to take the priority picks first.
Yeah, we have to see. I mean, Infinite here has their mid lane as well as jungler to pick up. I mean, Lee Sin is still open. We might see... I can't really think of anyone else that might be able to fit right now in this team composition. I mean, they only have the Dr. Mundo and the Corki. I'm not entirely sure what Infinite is trying to do now. Mid lane wise, I mean, we could see a Ari possibly. Not entirely sure. The Orianna, not a big fan of it, especially in this team composition right now.
I actually like these two pickups from Team Infinite because Mundo or Jax could go into the jungle here. Dr. Mundo used to be a jungler in the second season of Competitive League of Legends.
That's a huge throwback.
Yes, very, very long ago. But then he moved into the top lane as of last 2 seasons. Jax, on the other hand, has always been a top laner. Sometimes played mid back in Season 1, Season 2, but very rarely. But he, right now, I would say is stronger in the jungle. He has a better gap closer than Dr. Mundo, better ganks with the Counter-Strike stun. Leap Strike is a Counter-Strike. He benefits from the jungle items very well, giving him a lot of increased damage if he just decides to stay in the jungle and farm up as well. And I like these two picks because it provides a lot of the crowd control that Team Infinite needed. They only had Thresh for initiations and Dr. Mundo for continuous slows, and they already had a lot of damage coming out from Corki. Bringing in Jax and Orianna boosts their damage significantly and gives them a ton of crowd control that they were lacking before that will add on to their initiation. It does seem like Mineski wants to respond with a Jace pick.
Yeah, I mean, before we actually talk about the Jace pick, I want to comment on the fact that you kind of talked about damage coming out from Team Infinite. I personally feel that the damage will only appear if Team Infinite can scale off those items. Orianna and Jax, without those major core items being completed, will also mean that Team Infinite will have a complete lull in power spike during the mid-game phase. If Corki, Orianna, and Jax cannot get those key mid-game items, they cannot team fight at all. They can, but they're not going to do enough damage. Talk about the Jace coming in the top. You said that the Mundo first pick was something that you didn't really quite like. Right now, I really like the Jace pick coming in from Mineski. Gives them very good poke, very good disengage and initiation potential, and does deal very well with a top lane Mundo.
He sure does, and at that, the reason why I really didn't like the Mundo first pick, which does seem... The only reason I can think of Infinite picking up Dr. Mundo as one of their first picks for the top lane is they wanted to secure that champion and take it away from Mineski. Other than that, I thought it was a very risky pick for a first pick because now he has to lane against a Jace in the top lane or potentially face a 2-on-1 lane with Jarvan in the jungle, who is a very aggressive jungler and can pressure Dr. Mundo very early on. And we've seen in past seasons where Mundos have been dived continuously before they hit level 6, effectively stopping them from scaling into the late game as fast as they normally would. And at the same time, by picking Jace in the top lane, Mineski are not going for a double AP team composition, and with that, Dr. Mundo's effectiveness gets reduced even more since he does incredibly well against double AP, but not so well when there's more physical damage on the side of the opposition's team.
Yeah, I mean, the idea here is that Dr. Mundo will be able to ride through a lot of the AP bursts, but right now, it's a lot of poke damage, and you can definitely whittle down a Dr. Mundo and then suddenly just get the jump on him, basically. Before we actually get into the loading screen, let's actually really run through quite quickly the recap once again of the week 1. Let's go back to the week 1 infographic here before we talk about Group A now. Let's hopefully you can bring that one up first really quickly. There we go. Okay, let's just run through Group C matches. Saigon Jokers 2-0 against Hanoi Full Lewis. Fat Rabbit, of course, 2-0 against the Jakarta Juggernauts. Fish talked about it earlier. Mineski 1-1 against Saigon Fantastic 5. And Ampat Ultimate against Infinite 2-0. Infinite will be looking for their first win today against Mineski. And finally, in that Group A, it's going to be War Gods going 0-2 against the Bangkok Titans. And Asus Fate going 2-0 against War Gods Diamond. So both the War Gods teams are now at the bottom of the Group A ranking table, with Asus Fate and the Bangkok Titans being on top, of course. Let's actually jump all the way to today's matches if we can. There we go. As you can see now, we have Team Infinite and Mineski going up against each other in the best of 2 for the first match, and for the second one,
we're going to have Saigon Fantastic 5 taking on Ampat Ultimate in the best of 2 as well. Saigon Fantastic 5, they drew against Mineski last week, so they're going to look to try and pick up their first win here as well. There you have it, the Group B rankings, which is the games that we played today. Ampat Ultimate have 1 win and currently hold 3 points. Saigon Fantastic 5 have 1 draw, so does Mineski, so they both hold a single point. Team Infinite lost their game against Ampat Ultimate, so they're currently sitting on 1 loss.
Yeah, let's actually run into this Group B ranking a little bit more. If Mineski can actually, or if actually Mineski can defeat Team Infinite in a 2-0 fashion today, this will put them at 4 points, and if Saigon Fantastic 5 can do the same, that will allow them to kind of lead up in the rankings tied for first, and then Ampat Ultimate will be struggling at, not say struggling, but at a comfortable 3 points. And every single team in this group will only face each other once, so all these best of 2s will be very important. Let's hop on back to the bans and picks now. We should be getting into the loading screen very shortly. With that, I mean, we can go and look at the team comps once again. I mean, we talked about how the top lane matchup will be favoring, of course, Mineski, I believe, with the Jace pickup. And what do you think about the overall style of play between both these teams and the team composition that they have picked?
So I want to talk about the team composition a little bit more, because although I feel like Team Infinite's team comp is more well-rounded, it's picked to suit their team play style and suit it so that they team fight a lot better than Mineski. Their champions will be able to team fight a lot better. But Mineski's picks just seem like they've reacted to Infinite and reacted perfectly. They have 2 ways to stop Dr. Mundo's regenerative abilities, which is through Tristana and Fizz. So both of them could put on a debuff which stops 50% of his regeneration, which will help out with his passive and his ultimate. Even his effective cleavers will have reduced regenerative effects. At the same time, to continue with Dr. Mundo in the top lane, they have Jarvan and Jace, who will be able to heavily pressure out that top lane as and when they choose to. Yume on Fizz here doesn't have Yume on Fizz has a really good matchup in the mid lane, and you do see Barrier picked up by Orianna as a response to that. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can abuse that in the mid lane. The only lane which I feel they would be lacking in is the bottom lane. Going up against Corki and Thresh would be really difficult. However, they've gone with Tristana and Janna as their 2 pickups. So if they just sit back and farm, they'll scale into the late game. Just seems that Mineski's team comp completely goes against what Team Infinite have planned for this game.
Yeah, to add on in the bottom lane with these slight nerfs to Corki's Phosphorus Bomb missile speed, I want to see if EXO as well as Noel can use the move speed boost from Janna's passive to possibly even trying to sidestep, because Tristana is not one of those champions that have those dashes. Whenever we see Corki go up against a Lucian or a Grave, they usually hold their dashes, their E's, in order to dodge out the Phosphorus Bomb to mitigate some of the damage coming out from Corki and trade back more effectively. Let's see, will the reduction in the missile speed play a huge factor in this 421 patch? I have to talk about as well the dragon control coming out from Mineski, or the possible objective control that Mineski can put on. They have good siege, and if Infinite decides to siege onto Dragon or a turret, it is going to be TG on Jace that can come in. It's going to be Fizz with the Chum the Waters, with the huge amounts of zone control to really poke them down as much as they can. In addition to that, Noel can easily reset a fight. We talk about the team fighting capabilities of Infinite. If they kind of botch the team fight, botch the engage potential here with the Jax or the Orianna or maybe even the Thresh, it's just going to be Noel, hit Monsoon, reset the fight, re-engage with the Fizz, with the Jarvan.
So yes, Opa and Renren here have some form of poke coming in for Infinite, being the missile barrage coming from Corky and the not black cleavers, the infected cleavers coming in from Dr. Mundo. And you could say Stein in the mid lane has a little bit with his command attack, but no, Oriana's not really a poke-like champion. Most of the damage from Team Infinite is either continuous damage over time or burst damage. And that is great for Janna. Janna does really well against these two scenarios because the shield will help with some of the burst damage, and with the damage over the time, the Monsoon will help heal the entire team. So after an initiation attempt coming in from Team Infinite, if Janna could stay healthy, she can pop that ultimate to disengage, heal up the team, and then they themselves can go for an initiation either through the acceleration gate coming in from Jace, the flag and drag combo coming in from Jarvan with the Cataclysm on top of that, or even the Shark coming out for Fizz to start an engage off.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if EXO decides to rocket jump, flash, and use her ultimate to kind of push someone back as well, but that's all hypothetical. The game has already begun. I like the new graphics that we have here. Infinite now, of course, flying their flag high, as well as Mineski. Both of them having their flags here in the little graphics, of course, the overlays that we have.
So Mineski, definitely the favorites coming into this game, especially being one of the few teams in the GPL now. Actually, one of the two teams in the GPL that has made it to the World Championship before. So Infinite have a lot to fight for here, especially after a rather disappointing performance from them last week, where they just got outclassed in every possible area against Anfan Ultimate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we will have to see whether Infinite is kind of shored up their mechanical errors, maybe improve their team communication styles a little bit. This is going to be really important. I want to watch where these junglers are moving. Very interesting starts that we see. Jungle items have been changed quite a bit. A lot of aggression coming up from the bot lane as even the level 1 fights have already begun in order for them to establish lane control. But I want to talk about the junglers. Jax and Jarvan started in the bottom half of the map, which means that both the AD carry and supports in the bottom lanes did not get their level 2 jungle camp starts that we have been seeing in IM San Jose, in the expansion tournaments, and right now we may see a very, very early gank coming in from Sherry.
Opa here gonna go in for the gank. EXO has to rocket jump away. They're actually gonna go. They got the stun down to EXO. He has to flash away as well. That was an interesting gank attempt from Infinite, which seemed to pay off. They managed to take the flash away from Tristana, but more importantly, she's down to about a quarter of health. Has to pop that health potion really early on into the laning phase.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that was a very flashy gang. They will hopefully try to have gotten a, what's the word here? A kill, a first blood off of it, but I mean, that didn't happen. I also want to talk about the new slight changes to the jungle. Ranger's Trailblazer has been nerfed. We don't have that 15-second cooldown on the smite anymore. You only get the AoE damage and the stun, which also means that we will see a lot more variations in terms of the machete upgrade. We talk about machete upgrades. Look at what Jarvan has decided to pick up. The Stalker's Blade will be his first item. We'll give him that slow and increased potential for that gank.
See, there's a few different jungle routes that a lot of the junglers have been doing. That was very interesting from Jax, which a lot of the North American players, ILO players in North America have been doing. So you see the bottom lane EXO maybe in a little trouble. Actually gets splayed back through that rocket jump. That should be EXO going down. Opa is exhausted. Heal comes out for Tristana. One more attack. Flashes forward. He gets burst, but here comes that teleport coming in. Opa uses that Valkyrie to get away. TG gets exhausted instantly. Now they're going to try to jump onto Hobbits. They do get the slowdown. No knockback coming in just yet, though. And Hobbits should be able to escape for now. Infinite played that clinically, with Hobbits cancelling out the rocket jump there.
Yeah, this is what I kind of expected to see good Thresh players do. When I saw the Thresh pick, this also meant that, you know, a very mechanically sound player using the Flay will be able to stop initiations coming in from the Jarvan or the rocket jump coming out from EXO. And that's what he did right there. Stopped the rocket jump from EXO and followed it up with the death sentence. Really, really good first blood from Infinite.
Something which I was talking about before the gank in the bottom lane was how there's a lot of different jungle paths for junglers. We see a lot of farm-like junglers that don't want to gank early. They try to clear one half of their jungle, head back, upgrade their Hunter's Machete, go into the other half, complete that half, and then rinse and repeat. Start from whichever half they started on, and just keep doing that until they have the farm that they want. A lot of the players in North America, especially in North American solo queue, the high elo players there, they've been opting to pick junglers that can gank very early on, and they clear one
Oh, there we
side
go. We got something
and go for a
happening now.
gank. And Hobbit's now going to get jumped on, gets slowed down by Exo. Kulit managed to knock him out. He will be going down here. Not much that Oppa can do, and it's just Thresh warding the river, and that was a little bit strange for me. A lot of players ward the river early to stop jungle ganks, but when they do that, they decide to take a little bit of a shortcut back to the lane, and they do get surprised by junglers like that time to time.
Yeah, I mean, that was just very good patience coming from Kulit, and he just waited in that brush. I mean, he could have used the flag and drag combo to position there. That went off cooldown, and the moment he saw Hobbits actually walk past, he called for his bottom lane, say, "I'm going to go. Let's get a revenge kill in the bottom."
Kulit still farming back in his jungle. Managed to help out with his bottom lane. So even though we saw Tristana burn the flash early, got taken down for first blood by Oppa as well, she's managed to keep up in terms of minion score. She's 10 minutes ahead of Corki and got a kill return for herself. So effectively, they've kept that bottom lane even by having Jarvan roam down there and help them out with that sneaky pick onto Hobbit's there. But still, it should be Oppa and Hobbit's lane throughout the majority of the early game here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you talk about the laners right now, the lanes have been going to a slight advantage towards Mineski, and having the Jace versus Dr. Mundo matchup will also allow TG to pick up the tier of the goddess without any sort of fear. Good knockup coming in. The death sentence will not land. Sherry has the leap strike. Counter strike actually kind of botched there, timed out before he could get into range of the leap strike. So that was a failed gank attempt. Going back, talking about the top lane, getting that early tier of the goddess against the Dr. Mundo who can't really pressure you. You can see in the minimap, TG's just constantly shoving the lane. Despite teleporting to bot lane once already, that did alleviate some pressure from Renrin, but still, TG's just going in onto this one, shoving into the Dr. Mundo, constantly warding his flanks, and just stacking up on the tier of the goddess. Once that turns into the mirror mana and the mana mune, that's going to become a huge power spike for the Mineski squad. And if we talk about power spikes, we really have to watch for the mid-game power spike coming out from Infinite. If they can get their items, that will signal to me that they can go for objectives, they are willing to go for team fights. But if they cannot, this will mean that their team fights will be that much less effective, and they won't have enough damage to possibly finish off some champions.
Second buff rotation starting now for both of these teams. You just see Fizz picked up blue buff there, which was donated by Jarvan. Open now trying to trade with Exo. Exo getting a lot of good trades down. Hobbits now taking a ton of damage from Exo and Noel. Even dodging out the Phosphorus Bomb there. That was interesting. Coming out from Infinite, they missed all their abilities to initiate that trade, but still tried to trade with Exo and Noel regardless. And Noel's been playing Janna really well this game so far. A lot of people just think that Janna's just there, you know, pop the Monsoon when your team's in danger and shield your AD carry, but he's been saving his tornadoes and using them at the right times as well. He's been able to stop Hobbits from getting his sneaky initiations off with the Death Sentence, making sure that every time he has a clear line of sight, he gets knocked up, so he takes a few more seconds to position himself to throw out the Death Sentence, and that's given Exo enough time to evade most of these Death Sentences coming in.
You're absolutely right. In addition to that, trading against your opposing marksman when your support player is actually using the Janna pick will also mean that the Eye of the Storm, the E ability, will mitigate not only damage but give a boost of attack damage to the AD carry, so they're going to have that slight advantage when it comes to the trades. And Tristana is just an auto attack champion. She's going to hit it very well. The Chum the Waters will not land though.
Oriana, but dodges out the ultimate coming from Jarvan, gets Yume really low, flashes out. Yume's going to follow him with a flash of his own, has that barrier, pops the command attack. One more should be enough, but there comes the shield coming from Noel, making sure that Yume stays alive, picks up an assist for herself, and up in the top lane, Dr. Mundo and Cherry on Jax here pick up a kill for themselves at the same time. Stein in the mid lane managed to dodge two of the major abilities, both the Flag and Dragon combo and the Shark coming out from Fizz, but ultimately Cataclysm kept him locked inside the pit, and he was able to be taken down. Noel now coming back to the lane, does get stunned by Hobbits here. Hobbits going to deal a lot of damage to this Janna. Here comes Oppa. There is the Lantern gank, and the Monsoon used really quickly, and Noel
Oh, this is really interesting. He is between a rock and a hard place, has to flash over into the Dragon Pit, and that was just, questionable monsoon decision coming in from Noel. I mean, Yume was already recalling in the river, and I have no idea why she decided to, or why he decided to make that path into the Tri-Brush in the first place.
Very, very strange. Indeed, and I felt like he could have definitely gone out of that situation without putting himself in an awkward position, especially because when he came to the mid lane to help out against the gank, all he did was run in and pop a shield down. Could have taken the safe way back to lane, even gone through the river instead. Had to be a little bit risky, but not sure why he needed to be risky at all.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they did see Jax in the top lane. Yes, you did kill your opposing mid laner, but there's no reason for you to walk deep into your jungle. Unless, of course, they have some game plan coming in. We might see an initiation now.
Gets the slowdown onto Oppa. Nice jump into the flash there. Not going to be enough to take him down, though. He'll burn his own flash. Oh, no, he'll burn his heal there to get out of that sticky situation. Kulit tries to wrap around the back to see if he can pick him off again, but no one is there waiting for him, and this should be a dragon going in over to Mineski since he managed to send Oppa back to base.
Okay, I mean, now I have to comment a deep warning coming in from Noel. This will alert them of any sort of dragon steal attempts coming in from the side of Infinite. They get the very first dragon. Note that in the 421 patch, the buffs for the very first dragon has been reduced to 6% attack damage as well as ability power bonus. In addition to that, the second and fourth dragon buffs have traded places. So this means that your turret damage will be amplified first, and then your minion damage is amplified on the fourth dragon.
You know, with these changes to dragon, I don't like the dragon buff anymore. I find it more effective to stay in lane and farm now. See Render taking a lot of damage from PG because yes, the 6% is decent, but even if you have 300 ability power, 6% extra is just gonna be another 18.
It's okay. My argument for early dragons versus turrets is that turrets are a lot more worth it, and there's no real point for you to contest the first dragon unless you're absolutely certain you can win that fight. However, I will have to say that dragon buffs, at the end of the day, once you hit the 5th buff, it is still a huge power spike for your team fighting potential. So it is always the teams that really want to work towards that. In addition to that, the 2nd and 3rd dragon buffs right now gives you an insane siege potential. I mean, damage to the turrets as well as movement speed is critical. That could mean a successful gank or a out rotation into an objective. So it's gonna be really key. So Mineski here with that very first dragon, yes, they gives them that 6%, is not gonna do so much in the early game. Oh, Noel might get caught out though.
Oppa here dealing a lot of damage in over to Noel. Hobbit throws out the death sentence, will be dodged by Noel. Now they're going to turn this one around. Exhaust onto Oppa, knocks Thresh back into the team. Teleport coming in from the top lane of Infinite. Hobbit taking a lot of damage, will go down. TG comes in as well. Cherry's there trying to get the flash into the jump, doesn't quite get it. Renan will jump in as well. TG will eventually go down there. Strange that he decided to turn around and knock back Renan, which allowed Cherry to jump onto him. As
Cool it now coming in.
Feel like he wouldn't be able to get away without dying there, and they trade 1 for 1.
Yeah, that actually put him in range of the leap strike as well as the smite at the same time. So that was a little bit questionable. But this does mean that Yume has a bunch of time to kind of farm in the mid lane as well.
He managed to get a solo kill there onto Stein.
Exactly, and if we actually talk about the power spikes here, let's take a look at the items a little bit. We have parts of the Trinity Force being completed for Corki, so that won't happen just yet. He is 2-0 and up, and then we also have the dagger being held onto by Sherry here. So looks like he might be going for the Zeal early, or maybe just the Berserker's Greaves. And of course, in the mid lane, it would just be the Athene's Unholy Grail. Athene's Unholy Grail did get a slight buff in the 421 patch, increased mana regeneration. So Sty here, or Frosty, if you want to read his name like that, actually will be able to get that additional mana regen in order for her to kind of use the command attacks as well as command dissonance a little bit more, spam it a little bit more. Lichbane just completed about Yume, so that's on Yume. There's going to be a huge power spike for the fifth player in the lane. Do expect more solo kills to happen in the lane if Frosty isn't careful.
1,000 gold in favor of Mineski right now, and they have a single dragon to their name, so they're doing very well at the 15-minute mark of this game. Infinite, a little bit more composed than they were last week. Last week they were just a complete mess after the 3-minute mark, but now they're a little bit more composed, still behind about 1,000 to 2,000 gold, but not incredibly far behind. Up in the top lane, we see a lot of action taking place. Jax and Dr. Mundo were taken down. Fizz also takes down Dr. Mundo in the top lane, so
They trade 1-for-1 basically.
1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, and now in the bottom lane, there is a fight going on. EXO gets taken down by Oppa, and now Noel will be in a little bit of trouble. Nice Howling Gale, though, will allow Noel to escape from that one. So we may have missed the kills there, but nevertheless, they do trade 1-for-1, both in the bottom lane and in the top lane. Shockwave!
Yume getting taken down incredibly low. Counter-Strike was popped by Cherry, but didn't have his flash when they just let Noel walk back. Didn't have his flash available after the gank to bottom lane, and then they just say hi to Noel.
Yeah, I mean, Noel with the drive-by, of course. Says hello. Maybe ordering some Chinese takeout. Nevertheless, Infinite up against Mineski here. If we take a look at the turret control, the bot lane definitely going in favor of Mineski. They took down the turret. The dragon has been taken as well. That will respawn in about a minute's time, and overall it's just item power spikes being hit by several champions now. We are 17 minutes into the game. Static Shift already completed for EXO, has the BF sword as well. I talked about a Lich Bane earlier. We see the Manamune being completed here by TG. Trinity Force done onto Oppa, and you know, that's not really huge power spikes on the side of Infinite. I don't expect them to do a lot of damage in their team fights right now. Just because Orianna opted for the Athene's Unholy Grail, that will not give her the additional AP that a Morello Nomicon might give, but it does give her the additional survivability against Yume. However, Lich Bane does proc a lot of damage.
Sure does. The mid lane tower here taken down to half by Yume. Not much that Orianna can do against Fizz at this stage in the game. All of Orianna's abilities can be dodged, and there you go, Shark onto Frosty. Frosty gets taken down incredibly low, will be jumped on onto Yume, and it will be this execution coming out by Kulit there. Now it's going to be Dr. Mundo joining the fight. We will see Kulit use that Cataclysm onto Thresh. Flash away as well. Cherry now taking him down incredibly low. Here comes the initiation for Thresh. Jumps in. It will be Kulit going on a killing spree, taking down Thresh as well. Cherry jumps back in. The Fizz jump over the wall. Back over once again to pick up a skill for himself. Oppa jumping onto EXO. EXO should be able to pick up a kill though. Now Renan in a lot of trouble. Jace is coming down here to try and pick him up as well. We'll get the ace with a little bit of a love tap there. And they will ace Infinite with only one kill onto Yume in that mid lane exchange.
You know, that was fantastic play from Noel. Noel was really working it in that fight. Howling Gale hit constantly, always knocking up the right enemy at the right time. It opened up so much of the map for Mineski, gave them the ace, kept EXO alive. He's 5-2 and 3 now. Kulit is 3-0 and 6, and they get the second dragon at 18 minutes.
And that was a crazy play coming in from all of those players. Kulit, great job to get out of there. Cataclysm on the Thresh, flying drag over the wall, knocking up 3 people in his pit. Yes, Thresh went back with the initiation, pulling people over, but he pulled his teammates into a rough spot, into 4 members of Mineski at that time. And then we saw Yume. He started the fight with the Shark onto Frosty, taking him down before he could even use his Shockwave, which I thought that was a little bit of an error from Frosty because he had that window of opportunity to use.
Shockwave was actually on a 3, it was off cooldown for 3 more seconds, so he did not have that available. So it was the perfect timing for them to gank, and I really have to add, you know, the perfect monsoon coming from Noel. And do you know who took the lantern? Oppa took the lantern into the fight. No. Worst decision ever, I have to say.
Not the person you want to be jumping into the middle of 4 Mineski players. And Yume with a great play. He was the one that got taken down, but he made sure that his damage was felt throughout the entire fight. Even though he got taken down, he did all the damage, all the burst damage he could, and it was worth it for him to go down in that fight. And his last playful Trickster over the wall to dodge the Counter-Strike and back over to pick up a kill for himself was amazing.
That was really fun to watch. We might see another team fight breakout though. Let's see. They're just going to establish some vision. Team Infinite realizing that, hey, dragon's gone. Looks like they got their second dragon. This will mean that turrets go down faster for Mineski. In addition to that, let's take a look at the item pickups after that one team fight. Mineski now, Infinity Edge for EXO, and Noel with the Magi's here.
Can't quite see how many stacks there, but I'm assuming with 8 kills.
I don't know. I think he might have picked it up after that fight, so could have just still starting with that 5 stacks.
Might be a little bit more, but let's see how this game is going to pan out from here. Now, 11 kills in favor of Mineski. They are 5,000 gold ahead of Team Infinite, and they have 2 dragons to their name. Do you remember who took the first turret of this game?
The first turret of the game definitely went to Mineski in the bottom lane here.
So far in the Green Premier League, every team that's taken the first turret goes on to win the game.
Yeah, 100% win
but
rate.
But TG now gonna get jumped on. The flash coming out from Cherry.
Wow.
Ooh, that was interesting. And Hobbit is the one that picks up the kill with the death sentence.
Let's count how many skills they actually burn and how many summoner spells. The smite, the flash from Sherry, the shockwave coming out from Sty or Frosty, however you want to call him, and 4 members sent to kill TG, a Jace player who built complete damage items.
Wow.
And you know who got a kill?
And
Hobbit's got a kill.
That was...
We talk about inefficient juggling of skills as well as inefficient kill participation. That was really an inefficient fight there.
I mean, the shockwave and smite I can understand. I'm just not sure why Cherry had to flash. He was in range of his leap strike. His counter strike was being used, but yeah. So Janna has 9 stacks on that Medjay now. That is a lot of stacks for a support. I don't like the new Medjays because
you lose you lose half of your stacks now.
Yes. So I liked it before. I mean, you start with no stacks. You need 5 for it to be an optimal item. Now it starts with all 5 stacks, but every time you die, you lose so much. Now Ren gonna get jumped on here. Exo gonna jump into phase. All the shock is being popped.
Oppa taking a lot of damage here. Had to use the Valkyrie. The rocket jump coming in right now.
As well. Jack's gonna jump into the fray. Command shockwave hits nobody thanks to that amazing monsoon. And Hobbits gets knocked up by Noel using that Howling Gale. He'll get knocked up by the Flag Drag combo and the Cataclysm we popped onto Cherry and Frosty. Here comes Yume. Will he go in?
Wow.
Uh-oh. There's a wild Jace at the back. Exo gonna jump in as well. TG waiting for the counter strike to go down. Will he knock so back? Yume goes in, gets 1, gets 2, and Mineski pick up another fantastic ace.
This time it's a clean ace. Do you see the resets in that fight by Noel? The monsoon prevented the leap strike from coming in. The shockwave hit no one at all. And then the Howling Gale with the triple knockup allowed TG to make his rotation with the teleport and clean up and allow Yume to just clean up after the acceleration shock blast.
Not only was it a triple knockup, but Thresh flashed to try and get a death sentence off. That knockup stopped him from using his death sentence, and during that time, Noel was able to sidestep and stop the initiation coming in from Thresh. That also gave Kulit enough time to get the Flag Lance combo off and trap them all in that Cataclysm pit.
Mineski started that fight, got 1 kill. They disengaged from that fight and got 4 more kills on the reinitiation. The power of Janna right there in the monsoon and the Howling Gale.
All the players here on Mineski, world-class players. They still have 3 members that went to Worlds. Yume, though, in a little bit of trouble. I think it might go for Oppa here. There goes the Playful Tracer. Picks up a kill for himself. Yume's not afraid. Pops the swag points with that Zonia's Hourglass.
They're going to get 2 kills.
They go into Hobbits. Red in now, trying to fight with Cherry. The jump from Exo won't be enough for him to get away. It will be Frosty trying to pick up a kill onto Yume. Double coming in over to Renan, but they trade 2 for 2.
Yeah, I was very worried for Team Infinite here. It could have been an over chase now because we did see Kulit as well as Noel come up down to the bottom. They might just go for it here.
Kulit's going for it. Let's see who he goes for. Gets a slow down.
He has a Cataclysm as well.
Goes onto Frosty. Frosty has that flash still available though. Jake's gonna come in, jumps into the pit. Frosty flashes the opposite way though. Now TG just gonna slow them all down. The smite onto Renan to slow him down. TG jumps on to get even more slow. Cherry now in a lot of trouble. Will get popped by the shock blast coming in from Jace there. Mineski turn around and that pick in the bottom lane. They pick up 4 kills.
4 for 2 overall in that trade. Mineski really have their figures on the trigger here, and they are just constantly shooting the bullets right into Team Infinite's base here at the same time. And we did see them take down the inhibitor earlier, so this will mean that they will have a wave of super minions, and this is the 3rd Dragon Buff, giving them that 5% movement speed. It's going to be huge. come to the late game. If we think about how fast they actually collapse on the reinitiation, this is going to allow them to come in and possibly even save their teammates in such a if a situation like that happens again.
And like I was saying before that fight, Mineski have some world-class players. They have 3 members that went to the World Championship in Season 3, I believe? Season 3
Worlds.
Season 3 World Championship.
TG, EXO, and
Yume was
Yume, yeah.
So the 3 of them went to Season 3 World Championship. They didn't have a great performance there, but they're still a world-class team. And their players are proving that here. At the same time, their team composition from the start of this game, I said, just does so well against the very standard picks that Infinite have gone for. Very standard team fight, team comp. And they've been utilizing that very well. And Noel has been playing phenomenally. And like you said, he's been hitting his monsoons and his howling gales when he needs to and saving his teammates time and time again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Ooh, steal!
Mundo steals the Gromp with the infected cleaver. That's a small consolation prize for Renrin.
Gonna jump onto Exo here.
Yeah,
forces the jump away, but I don't think he should chase it because now it's just me. Killer jumping over the wall, gets the knock up. The ultimate is being popped by Dr. Mundo. Hobbits misses the death sentence. Jerry jumps onto Noel, who pops that monsoon. Uppa gonna jump in as well. Flash from Exo to get out there. So does Noel. Renan now chasing now. Exo's jump is still on cooldown. The shockwave will miss once again. The knockback coming from Exo to stop all of that engage coming in from Infinite. You may a little bit indecisive where he's gonna go to capitalize on this fight in the top lane.
Yeah, that fight could have gone very differently if some of the key spells actually hit, especially the spells of initiation. The 5% move speed could have been really huge. We can speculate. I mean, they did dodge out the death sentence. They managed to get out of range from the shockwave. I mean, the fact that the shockwave wasn't really well placed, but still, very good play coming out from Mineski to prevent all of that from happening. They might be setting up a pick though.
Oppa gets jumped on. Not so much jumped on, but shot over the wall by Exo there. TG hit that shock. Acceleration gate shock blast combo. We might have seen a jump, but Hobbits was there for the dark passage to bring him to safety. Overall, Mineski picking up a tower in exchange for the team fight in the top lane, where they were 4 on 5 and managed to escape that without a single death. Infinite missed all their key abilities in that fight. Shock blast missed, death sentence missed, and now Mineski want to pick up a Baron here, and they get the Baron for themselves. That's going to give them that improved recall, the movement speed moving out of the fountain, and that 40 AP and attack damage, which is exactly what they need at this point of the game to close it out. They're more than 10,000 gold in the lead. They have the Baron buff, 3 Dragon buffs to their name as well. Managed to go home, get all their items. Mikhail's Crucible and Medjai's Soul Stealer on Janna here. They could easily go for a final push, especially with the Naked Inhibitor back up.
Definitely, and if we talk about items here, Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, Static Shift, Zhonya's Hourglass, Lichbane, Void Staff on the 2 carries. I mean, let's talk about the 3rd carry. Black Cleaver, Last Whisper, and Mirror Mana. They will be unstoppable. Mineski here coming out huge. And we talk about damage items. Only the Triforce and Last Whisper, notable damage items on the side of Infinite. Oriana has only the Zhonya's Hourglass as well as the Athene's. Shockwaves won't be doing any damage at all now.
Oppa takes the shock back to the face and on attack from Exo here. Mineski will be able to take down this inhibitor with ease. Dr. Mundo is in the bottom lane trying to split push for Infinite here, but I don't think that is a very good decision because Fizz is going to be able to destroy the top lane inner turret. Now he'll be putting pressure onto the inhibitor turret as well. These buffed minions from the Baron buff going to help them out with the push too. Mineski rotate from the mid lane to top lane after picking up that inhibitor. Looks like they're going to try and take down this inhibitor tower. These siege minions that you get when you have Baron buff,
they outrange the turret.
Outrange the turret.
My favorite is still the melee minions. 80% damage reduction. They're mini Alistars.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I just realized that Mineski has a Janna passive running in their team, which means they get a total of 10% additional move speed. Crazy.
Mineski now
So
switching turret damage.
Aggro, yeah.
I like I don't like the new change in turns. Cherry now gonna get initiated on by Kulit here. Renan gonna jump into the team. Here comes the Cataclysm from Jarvan. He might get taken down really low though. Yume gonna pop the ultimate onto Thresh. He's gonna switch targets though. Jumps onto Corki. It will be Renan that goes down first. Open now in a little bit of trouble. Will flash away. Cherry jumping back into the fight. Gets exhausted immediately. Yume takes him down. Opa left in the tower. No, he's not. He's dead. Instantly gets taken down. Triple kill for Jace. Ace for Mineski. They're going to finish this game with ease.
Yeah, this should be game number 1. Going to Mineski up against Team Infinite. They played a fantastic job. Noel really I want to say the king of Summoner's Rift today on this first game between Infinite and Mineski. 0-0 and 18. Picks up the cheeky Magi's, but let's not talk about his items. We talk about his plays. The monsoons he plays, perfect timings. The Howling Gales, stop flashes, stop flays, stop death sentence, stop shockwave, stopped everything that Infinite could have put into Mineski's face.
It sure did, and it was a phenomenal game from Mineski there. Yes, Infinite right off the bat, looked a little bit stronger than they did last week, but once again, once the mid game rolled around, their insecurities, you could say, their flaws started to show once again. They were not grouping, not team fighting effectively. They were just charging at the opposition's team with no real strategy in mind, and Mineski were able to counter out them both in Champion Select and in-game as well.
Yeah, my worry, like I said, for that team comp was the mid-game power spike of damage. Having a jungle Jax will mean that, you know, you have to go for the machete upgrade first, and then the Warrior's enchantment. And where's the Trinity Force that Jax just scales so well out of? That's going to come in only very late into the game. No damage into the mid-game, and even if they did have damage, wow, Noel really stopped almost every single team fight that I could have tried to turn around. Fantastic game, number 1.